Well, let's get started. My name is Christian. This is the report that we have been working from Colombia Risk Analysis the last 6 months. We are actually not focused on China. We work in other subjects. Our main objectives are so Colombia Risk Analysis, we are a little political risk consultancy. And although we are not focusing China, what we do is whenever there are some information gaps in Colombia, what we want to do is to bring some light to it. And well, in the case of China, in Colombia, it's not something that is being debated or there is like enough research or something. We have identified this important topic, and we have already worked in one report some months ago about more general features about the Chinese presence in Colombia. And this time we have focused in the technological footprint in Colombia. So let's get started with this. The agenda that I am going to present is the following one. So first of all, I am going to explain why the trade and the international relations between Colombia and China, they are unequal. Then I am going to explain how Colombia is embracing all kinds of technology coming from foreign countries. So in this case, of course, China is the main actor that I am talking about. This leads directly to see how insufficient cyber defense and security policies Colombia has in these aspects. Colombia is also a country that is technologically dependent from foreign countries, and also we are going to see how Colombia faces risks such as digital lock-in. And in the end, I am going to make a little forecast about what we think, according to the analysis done, how is it going to be the next years, these overall relations between China and Colombia. If we have to sum up our report in 3 basic phrases, this would be the following one. So first of all, the thing is that China is growingly being part of the Colombian infrastructure and investments overall, and also the political ties are growing at the same time. The cutting-edge Chinese technology and in its applications in different sectors such as mobility, infrastructure, transportation, renewable energy, healthcare, or security are very good examples to understand how these Colombia-China relations are. And our report warns that although Colombia is very focused on the benefits that technological investments can have coming from China, it is not really focusing on the risks and the threats that this could have in the early future. As a very big picture, and to start talking about the general situation between PRC and Colombia, first of all, we can see the balance of payments. We can start saying that the USA and China are the main trading partners of Colombia, but in the time that the imports from Colombia are around 24% for both China and the US. 26% of the exports of Colombia accounts for products going to the US, while less than 4% is going to China. So this means that as the balance of payments with the US is minus $3 billion. Actually, in the past, in around 2008, 2009, the balance was still positive. With China, we can see that the difference is actually pretty dramatic, consisting of minus $14 billion US dollars. So that's the first thing. And it is also interesting to see in this map how is it the trends in the whole Latin American region. For most of the countries, China is just the second trading partner. We can see that in the case of Brazil or Uruguay is the first one. And many of these countries are already signing free trade agreements with China. As part of the big picture, it is important to say that Colombia still doesn't form part of the Belt and Road Initiative, but this doesn't mean that there are plenty of projects going on in Colombia. Actually, according to some self-made research, we can see that as completed for indirect investments from China, there are only 5 completed projects. But ongoing projects, they are 31. This is somehow telling us that the presence of China in Colombia is somehow recent and growing at the same time. Comparing it to other countries, actually, from the region, there has been more years in total in which China has started their investment. So Colombia is actually something more recent in comparison with other major countries of the regions. And of course, the main sectors in which China is investing is telecommunications, healthcare, transportation, clean and non-clean energy security, and of course, infrastructure. Let's see also which is the interest that PRC has in investing in Colombia. I wanted to put that graph first of all because we can see that BRI has not been the same, let's say, during the last years. Basically because the risk-taking of the Chinese companies in the whole world has decreased. Now results are being more important to the Communist Party. And well, having said that, the first reason, of course, why it's strategic and interesting for China to invest in Colombia is because imagine that in the next years, China convinces Colombia of signing the BRI. So even though that wouldn't affect the relationship with the United States, one of the main allies so the US is one of the main allies of Colombia. And the thing is that if Colombia signs the BRI, it would definitely scratch, and it would actually be some kind of winning point for China. Second point that not only Colombia but also like all the countries of the region have is that it has valuable natural resources that China wants to have access to. Third point is that Colombia is geographically strategic in the sense that Colombia has 2 coasts in the Pacific Ocean and in the Caribbean, and also it's just neighboring with Panama and therefore with the Panama Canal. In difference with countries like Argentina, like Venezuela, or like Ecuador, Colombia is one of the few countries of the region that has always been able to pay their debts on time. If Colombia has one thing is some strong institutions that don't allow the government to over-indebt themselves. So relating this to the graph that I have put here, for China, it's even more interesting, this fact, the low risk taking. And of course, Colombia is still a developing country, so the infrastructure needs are actually really high, and there's where China can really help and invest on these necessities. And in order to understand the political unequal relations. We can put this example. So a little bit more than a month ago, President Gustavo Petro made an official visit to PRC. Actually, this visit was not very in-depth planned. It was announced only with 3 weeks time, approximately. And also the visit was very short. It consisted just on 3 days. So we can say that there was a little bit of an improvisation in this trip. There was a little bit of an speculation to see if Colombia was going to sign the BRI, because we didn't have a lot of information about it, but in the end it didn't. There is actually a little thing there. It should be that Colombia signed one memorandum of understanding, but it consisted of 12 different points. The most important things would be just the cooperation between ministries in terms of agriculture or ICT, for example. And also it talked about some new Colombian exports that are going to be carried out. In this case, we're talking about beef and quinoa. Now the countries are strategic partners, but still I'm going to explain this now. The third point is that Petro is interested because having stronger alliances with China is going to help him to achieve some domestic policy goals in terms of, again, the infrastructure that Colombia needs in order to develop, in terms of finance, or in terms of climate change, which actually is one of Petro's most important policies for him, and how China is able to provide some clean energy solutions and equipment and investments. And well, the thing is that China has a very defined strategy, not only towards Colombia, but towards the whole Latin American region. And at the same time, Colombia doesn't appear to have the same thing. Still, even though China is the second trading partner, and besides all the investments being carried out by Chinese companies, Colombia is still not considering China as a geostrategic actor that it should be paying more attention. Actually, for the Colombian society and for the Colombian government, China is still something that is a little bit far away in terms of culture, in terms of wanting to approach a little bit more. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs actually probably they didn't want to sign yet the BRI because of some fear of damaging the relations with the USA. It is not something that is confirmed, but could actually be that. So the fact that they didn't sign it could also demonstrate a little bit more how inaccurate the perception of Colombia towards China can be, in the sense that, once more, we know several countries that have signed the BRI, but at the same time keep having good relations with the USA. The main reason why we decided to focus on the technological features of Chinese investments in Colombia has been because of the public tender that is going to be held the 20th of this month. So it is going to be just in a couple of weeks. And 5G is going to arrive to Colombia and is going to modernize the telecommunication network. This is going to provide a lot of benefits for the country, as only 60.5% of the population is actually connected to the internet. From all the OECD countries, Colombia is actually the last country in terms of connectivity. And only 28% of the rural population is connected to the internet. So these rates are actually really low, and there is a lot of work that obviously Colombia has to do. And the Petro administration has the goal to achieve the 85% of connectivity of Colombia. It's actually very ambitious, and it doesn't seem that in 3 years they are actually going to be able to achieve such ambitious numbers. But of course, the 5G is there to help the government to achieve these objectives. And the thing here is this principle of technological neutrality. This means that the government is not going to close itself to any kind of technologies coming from any country. So this is implicitly meaning that Huawei is actually going to directly participate in the public tender. So this is happening in a context in which, as we all know, globally there are being some bans and some restrictions from most of Western countries because of national security concerns. Countries like the US, of course, but also Germany. In the case of Germany, it's not something definitive, but is actually a public debate that it's being held. And what they are actually wanting to do, because of protecting national security concerns, is to rip and replace network components. We must also take into account that right now the digital order is, we could say, another battlefield in the global power war. And cyber espionage, cyber warfare, and ransomware attacks are just another part of some military strategy. At the same time, PRC national security law is elaborating a lot of concerning laws. So here I have put the example of citizens and governments, and also companies, of course, having to cooperate with the government and its security agencies in terms of if they have some information, sensible information that is of interest of the Communist Party, to share it with them. Another one can be also the law that when a company has some digital failure, it has to notify it to the security agencies of the country. And we must also say that in the global south, not only in Colombia, but in huge countries like Mexico or Costa Rica, Paraguay, Peru, these countries are extremely vulnerable to cyber attacks done by ransomware collectives, hacktivists, and other foreign entities. The thing is that as for Colombia, Colombia actually shouldn't be closing itself to this kind of technology. First of all, because at least in terms of the telecommunication sector, still there hasn't been any conclusive proofs about backdoors. And second of all, because Huawei, due to its huge investment in 5G technologies, is able to not only provide Colombia with very high quality technology, but also its prices are going to be the most competitive in the market. The problem here for Colombia is that there aren't any control or prevention mechanisms that are going to seek the security of the cyberspace, of the privacy of the users, and so on. And although the benefits are very clear, the risks seem to not be known by the Colombian authorities, and that can be translated into potential threats. Also, Colombia has the habeas data, which is just like privacy legislation that couldn't be actually done, controlled, or accomplished if in the end it is actually proven that companies like Huawei, for example, are a provider of backdoors. And the thing is that, so Colombia is not the most wealthy country of the world. So the US or Germany have the capacity to replace a part of the infrastructure if they are having national security concerns. But in the case of Colombia, that would be extremely difficult and extremely costly, and at least for the moment, there are not any other such competitive alternatives, such as the ones that Huawei can provide. And well, we can also put the example that Mexico and Brazil are the most important countries in the Latin American region, and they personally are also open to this kind of Chinese technology. The third point here is that actually having seen the principle of technological neutrality and the fact that there is a lack of control and prevention mechanisms makes us wonder, what is the state of cyber defense in Colombia? So let's just start by saying that, first of all, there are some political differences whenever it was tried to be approved, a plan to create a national cybersecurity agency. Also, opposition groups, because of some facts having happened in the past, have the fear that the government is going to use this kind of agency to spy on them. So this is why in the Congress it wasn't approved, this, only by one vote, by the way. We repeat again, the region is vulnerable to cyber attacks, including ransomware that has happened in this case to Colombia just some months ago and affected several government entities, and sensitive document leaks, of course. And the thing is that policymakers don't seem to have this approval of such an important agency as a priority. The priorities of the government are just others. And also, as a key fact, we have had the opportunity to interview many actors in the security sector, and whenever we were asking them about some concerns about the Chinese technologies, there was not a consideration of the risks that this could take. In this case, we are talking about companies such as Hikvision or Dahua. And this leads us to the fourth point, which is actually how dependent Colombia is becoming from Chinese technologies, and the problems that a digital lock-in can have. For examples here, so first of all, we can say that in the case of Huawei, already with the 4G technologies, it is very evident how over-dependent Colombia is. And the thing is that between a 50% and a 100% of the infrastructure of the 4 leading telecommunications companies are made by Huawei. There is also overdependence in many sectors of one or few providers. In this case, for example, I have put BYD as major cities such as Bogota, Medellin, or Cali. All the buses that they are buying are from this company. And the thing is that if in the future some eventuality happens, whatever it is going to be, again, complicated for Colombia to replace all this amount of investment. Third point is that the government of Colombia is not currently promoting interoperability. Here, the example is that PRC companies are winning all the railway public tenders. In this case, we are talking about the Metro of Bogota, which is actually built in a 25%. In the second line of the Metro of Bogota, in the public tender, 3 consortiums are Chinese, one is Spanish. And well, they are also in charge of the line of the Regiotram connecting the center of Bogota with surrounding areas, and also the already operating metro in the I-18 in Medellin. And all these problems don't happen only with Chinese companies. It can also happen with Israel, for example. Colombia is dependent on the Kafir airplanes of Israel. And some weeks ago, there was a little misunderstanding between Petro and Israel. And for a moment, well, it could happen that the importing of these airplanes could have some problem in the end. You know this story. And well, our forecast is that it doesn't seem that in the following years the Colombian government is going to develop some kind of strategy towards China. It also seems that bilateral trade and investment relations and the political influence of China is still going to grow in the country. Probably Petro will not see China as a geopolitical issue, but just as a tool to accomplish some his agenda in this case. And also, well, national security, privacy, and cybersecurity concerns are unlikely to become a priority, at least for this government. And well, that would be, I don't know if we have maybe just a couple of minutes or 1 minute, but if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
The US has always had a security concern regarding Colombia and defense, agreement and so on, involvement in the guerrilla things and so on in Colombia. Is the USG doing anything on the cybersecurity and data aspect of the?
There are, so for example, the not in this case, as far as I know, but there are other US. So for example, the Southcon is actually pretty invested in some countries whenever it has to do with cyber defense. The most recent and clear case is the case of Costa Rica. They have been, so time's up, sorry. But so the Southcon, they have invested around 10 million, if I am not wrong, in helping Costa Rica in creating a cybersecurity office in order to help them with all the last issues having to do with this. But in this case that you have told me, I am not aware that in terms of cybersecurity they are doing something, and also in the case of Colombia. Perhaps yes, but nothing that I have heard.
I remember there was some kind of commission set to overview the Bogota Metro agreement and work. Is that still working?
I am sure about it, but yeah, I didn't have like a lot of time to explain all the Metro of Bogota issues, because actually it could be like a presentation by itself, you know. But most probably, yes. The interesting thing about this having to do with China is that when Petro went there, one of his main objectives was actually just to try to convince the company, in this case is Czech and Xi'an Railway Company, to make it underground, because it's actually not going to be underground. But it's not a presidential issue, actually. We could be talking that for Petro maybe it's a kind of whim in that sense, to be insisting all the time in a matter that is actually, how to say it, not of his business, you know. It should be something, well, having to do just with the city mayor, and that's it. So that is also like another feature of the Petros presidency. But of course, they cannot allow themselves to have more delays in this Metro of Bogota project, so I am sure there must be some kind of regulatory commissions or something still going on with the Metro. Well, I think we have run out of time, so thank you very much for attending.